So now that you've acquired multiple pieces of evidence from various sources, you'll want to go through and analyze those pieces of evidence to see how strong they truly are. Now, sometimes what may have seemed like a strong piece of evidence becomes exposed as weaker than we thought after we engage in more rigorous evidence and find stronger pieces of evidence or indeed stronger counterclaims. And sometimes we might even present so-called evidence which, while perhaps being related to the topic, isn't even actually evidence. So let's start from the bottom with straight up non-evidence, or as they say in Latin, non-sequitur. The phrase non sequitur literally means does not follow, and in this context, it will mean that someone is making a conclusion which does not follow logically from the statements that led to it. Let's reintroduce my claim that because homelessness among American families is such a serious problem, American workers should drink one less cup of coffee a week and contribute it to a fund for homeless mothers. What if what we followed this claim up with as so-called evidence was because period. Anyone who heard us make this statement would look at us like we were crazy, and they should, because saying period has nothing to do with homelessness or how much money the average American worker spends on coffee. So it's not even bad evidence. In this case, it's not even evidence. Now, the next type of non-evidence is when we manage to bring up something somehow loosely connected to the topic, but so loosely connected as to be ultimately irrelevant. For example, we should spend less on coffee and more on homelessness because the history of coffee dates back to the 15th century and possibly earlier, with a number of reports and legends surrounding its first use. Okay, well, let's see. At least this time we managed to say something about coffee. But this juicy historical tidbit on the history of coffee has nothing to do with how much American workers spend on it or how bad homelessness is in the United States. So if we were arguing this point in court, this will be the part when your opposing lawyer would say, objection, irrelevant, and the judge would agree with them. And spoiler alert, if the judge keeps agreeing with your opponent, you're going to lose the case. Now let's get to evidence which makes sense and is relevant, but is also weak. For example, American workers should sacrifice 1 cup of coffee a week to support homeless moms because coffee doesn't taste that good anyway, or because it's a nice thing to do. The problem with these two pieces of evidence is that they're subjective, meaning they're based on opinions. And anything based on an opinion is always going to come across weaker than something based in fact. As easily as you can find someone with an opinion, you can find someone with the opposite opinion. But facts are a lot harder to go against. So what if you think helping homeless people is a nice thing to do? A lot of things are nice things to do. Where's your evidence that this particular nice thing to do is more effective than other things that could be done about homelessness or other issues? So now that you've survived my examples of non-evidence and weak evidence, let's get to some evidence that's actually strong. The New York Times reported that there were 144 million employed Americans in June of 2020. Further, according to the Huffington Post, the average American worker spends $1,000 on coffee annually. Thus, if we instituted this plan and donated 20% of those coffee expenditures to a special fund, that would yield $28.8 billion a year toward aiding homeless families. This proves that a little bit of sacrifice and how much we spend on a non-essential creature comfort can make a huge financial difference in the lives of people who really need it. Wow. Now let's unpack the reasons why this was such strong evidence. First, it was relevant. We didn't come with some random facts or unfounded opinions about coffee spending, homelessness, or what to do about it. We found legitimate statistics from reputable sources and used those to make our point. We mathematically proved with tangible, understandable figures that a lot of money could go toward a good cause with just a little sacrifice. Then we brought it all together with that last statement, which was our warrant. A warrant is an explanation of the evidence and how it proves a topic sentence. Warrants usually start with statements like, this shows that, as you can see, this statement proves, and so on. The warrant helps your audience to connect the dots and understand why your evidence is relevant and strong and thus should be convincing. So, to wrap it up, Make sure your evidence truly supports your topic. Just because it's about it doesn't mean it's the hottest. Think critically. Is the evidence you named the best to support your claim, or is it sort of lame? The more sources you have, the more fortunate your path, especially if your facts are relevant, not random. Then end your evidence with a warrant. A phrase like "this shows, this proves, as you can see, this demonstrates." Make sure your warrant explains the evidence you're using. It makes connections showing why yours is the best solution. For some people, opinions and even lies can fly, but when it comes to evidence, the wise will analyze.